This week's video is my thoughts on pruning roses. Now, I'm not anti-pruning roses. There are good reasons to prune roses, such as removing dead wood. You can kind of see that this is lighter colored. This one here is lighter colored. Those are clearly dead. Those would get removed. I'm not going to touch this rose. It's dead Duchesse de Brabant. I'm not going to touch this rose now, seeing how it is only January. It looks black, so one would expect it to be dead. I've learned from my past experience that even though it looks black, I'm going to wait till April, when things start leafing out, to see what is and is not actually dead. So I've learned that. Here's port sunlight. It looks pretty dark as well. But again, I'm going to wait till April. This is Evelyn, and I'm kind of surprised that it isn't greener. I mean, this here, if you zoom in, looks pretty dark and somewhat brown, so I think this section here is dead. But looking at it, it actually has some, almost like a dehydrated look to it. So we'll have to see how that comes back in the spring as well. Like I said, I'm surprised that that's looking like that. I mean, Bliss Parfuma has green. Abraham Darby has green, along with its brown. This rose here is Marianne, and it's quite green. It's got some red bud eyes along the cane there. So I don't think the negative 20 something wind chill that we had right before Christmas impacted it all that much. Now, I wouldn't prune Marianne in April because it is a once blooming rose, so I would hold off completely. I'm just going to look over the fence here. This rose bush close to me is Monsieur Tillier. It looks pretty sad. I'm hoping that the leaves helped insulate the further down in. This is the rose that I actually learned from first-hand experience to hold off until winter is over on pruning, because you never know what's going to actually be alive. I learned that the stuff that's closer to the lighter color house is more likely to be alive than the stuff that was on the outside. I'm going to walk over to a couple of other roses, see if I can get a better look on it. But I mean, in general, if you do want to do pruning on roses, you want to keep in mind that what kind of rose it is, such as a modern garden versus old garden rose. If it repeats versus once blooming, like this rose here is Heritage. It's a David Austin rose. If I were to prune it, I would probably knock it down. I don't know, it's about 4.5 feet tall, so I'd knock it down about a foot. Take out the dead stuff. Like this here looks pretty dead. Again, I'm not going to touch it till April though. Whereas this rose here, which is about 3.5 foot tall, is Charles de Mills. Charles de Mills is a once blooming rose. I'm not seeing any dead rose canes on it, so I wouldn't touch it anyway. Rabbits are doing that for me anyway. But it blooms once, so if I were to prune it, I wouldn't prune it until after it bloomed in May or mid-May, maybe late June, or not late June, I wish. Maybe late May, early June is what I was trying to say. But I would probably take it back by about a quarter as well. As you can see, there's some rabbit damage to some of these canes, so that will have to be cleaned up a little bit. Lady of Shalott, you can actually see here, you got the brown canes. Let's see if I put it over here. You got brown canes. That's clearly dead. That's going to come out. So I could cut off the dead stuff now. Like I said, most of the roses I probably will not be touching until April, just to make sure what is and is not dead. Just keep in mind, also, not every rose needs to be pruned to the 18 inches from the ground that you will often read in rose books. It depends on what you want, how big your yard is, what you want it to look like, and what type of rose it is. And thank you for your time.